bringing you the latest news from Lubbock High Athletics. This is the Westerner Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Start off the Westerner Fan Zone. We're going to talk football. Juan Rodriguez is here. We're going to talk about their big win last week against Big Spring. But I wanted to start off this week by bringing in Reese Pena, who, if you've been under a rock, you haven't heard about Reese Pena. She is as successful and as decorated a cross-country runner as there's on the ladies' side as there has been in Lubbock in recent history. We're going to talk about it because she was motivated by somebody who also wore that black and gold. Reese, welcome in. It's good to have you in here.
Thank you.
So we met a few years ago, I think when you were a sophomore towards the end of track season, and you told me about when you got to Lubbock High, you met Isaac Alonso, who is right up there with you in terms of what he achieved as a cross-country runner. Now he's kind of killing it at UT, if I remember right.
Yes, he is.
Getting to meet him, how much did that push you? Because I've got your list of achievements here in front of me. I don't have time to read all of those. I'll read some of them. But you've checked quite a few things off the list. Having somebody, when you got there, to kind of set the tone for you, how much did that help?
Yeah, it definitely helped me a lot. It helped me, not only, realize, how high school athletics are and stuff, but also, to have someone there to, mentor me throughout, sports. And when stuff gets hard, I can just rely on him and go back to him. And then he'll give me race strategy, training strategy, all of that.
And you've passed the torch.
I have.
We were talking before we came on. I could have had your teammate up here. Tell me about the young man who also won the reason Reese is here is because the LISD meet, they got started a little bit earlier this year. They started last weekend, and she won it for the third time.
Yes, correct.
But you weren't the only one who won it.
I was not.
Who also joined you up there?
Yeah, so my teammate Arturo Rodriguez, who is a sophomore, he ran, I believe, 16:01, which is a new Lubbock Invitational record. And so we were very proud of him, been training with him all summer and, of course, throughout the season. So it was just good to have someone else win that.
What advice have you given him as a young guy now that you're a sage old veteran?
Yeah, of course. So I know, I don't want to talk too much in his past, but I know his track season was not how he wanted, didn't end how he wanted, and so he was very frustrated about it. And so I had quite a few talks about keeping him motivated and just seeing the good and having that experience, because he was only a freshman, and so he didn't have the 3 years that I had or all the other guys had on the line. And so I kind of just gave him all sorts of advice just to keep his head up and keep trying, because it's going to come sooner than he thinks. And this meet showed.
Now, this is a weird worlds colliding thing. Your freshman year, Coach Shane Stephen was still the football coach.
Yes.
And his son, Adam Burleson,
yes,
had just started. And I don't think he had a ton of success right off the bat. And am I right? Last year he won state cross country, state 1600, and state 32, and now he won it in a different uniform because Shane moved on. And was he at Amarillo High last year?
He was, yes.
So there's another guy who is an example. Did you get to know Adam when he was here?
I did. I actually met him when I was in middle school. We went to the same middle school together, and so I had all sorts of training with him, and also our private coach, we ran with him all the time, and so, yeah. So
you mentioned things not going exactly the way Arturo wanted. One of my favorite things that I've ever heard about you was, and I think you know what I'm going to talk about. It was at a cross country or a track event where you stumbled, and you could have just waved the white flag, but what happened? Yeah, so that was at district, I believe, my sophomore year. Or no, it may have been my freshman year, but I went down my second lap of my 5K, which I had a little over 1,200 meters left, and I passed out at the top for 40 seconds, and I could have just laid there and not finished the race, which would have cost me the rest of my season, or I could have done what I did, and I got right back up and finished it. Even though I couldn't see or anything like that, I finished it. Juan, when you hear a young lady, a young athlete, talk about that, and you hear the kind of the legend of Reese Pena, how can you kind of apply that to your guys that are playing a different sport, but they kind of need that motivation sometimes?
Well, I just think it's tenacious. It's tenacity and the ability to continue to rise to the occasion. Race day in and day out, race after race. It's not something that you can take for granted, and Reese definitely doesn't do that by the work ethic that she has and the things that she's able to do, on the track and her training and in the discipline that she has. plus get the opportunity to juggle that with so many different activities that she has going on is applicable to anything that we do with our athletes. And we've got a lot of guys like that, playing. We got a lot of guys that are running cross country, both, male and female, that do exactly the same. But, it definitely sets a presence of, you can accomplish what you want with hard work and a great work ethic.
I'm going to probably make her blush here too. She's also the happiest athlete I think I've ever seen. I mentioned to you before we came on, she almost matches you in energy. Maybe not quite at that same level, but watching her at track meets when she runs 3,200, which for guys like you and me, we'd be spent for days. She's running around the track, taking pictures, encouraging teammates. Where's that come from?
Yeah, honestly, no matter what, if I win or lose a race or having a good or bad day, I know I'm not perfect, and I know all these other athletes around me are perfect. And so I see it how you don't ever know what anyone's going through. And so to be able just to make someone smile or feel good about themselves, it's just it makes me happy and it makes me more joyful. And I'm just a very energetic person as is. And so of course I'm going to be all over the place. And so being able to cheer a girl on, even if I'm not running, just it's good. And I know they enjoy that.
And I think you've had an influence at other schools as well. I think, is it Zanisha from Coronado, Zanisha Harris? That's yes. You two have had a nice little rivalry these last couple of years. There's some Sydney Smothers. Is she still at Monterey?
She is, yes.
So you've kind of motivated other girls to kind of elevate their game. How much does that help you to get pushed? Yeah,
honestly, it helps me so much because having people in Lubbock, because you don't usually see this, but in Lubbock, Texas, our girls, I guess, running stuff has definitely improved. And so to be able to have girls from Lubbock, Texas that have also gone to state with me it's just so encouraging. And it pushes me more, and I know it pushes them because I've seen it.
Now, you mentioned that. I'm going to try to rattle these off quick before the break. 3-time Lubbock Invitational champion, 3-time cross-country state qualifier, finished 4th as a sophomore, Region 1 champ in the 1,600 and 3,200 state qualifier. Junior year, she was a regional champ, 3,200 runner-up, 16. I'm reading Coach Sparks' notes here. So school record in the 1,600 and 3,200, part of a 4x4 relay team that I'm not sure what that means. So that's just tip of the iceberg stuff there. So we'll be back on the Westerner Fan Zone. Thanks for coming in, Reese Pena.
Thank you.
Breaking down Lubbock High sports. This is the Westerner Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 FM. The Westerners are on the road Friday at Snyder, kind of a renewal of what I assume was a pretty old rivalry back in the day against the Tigers. Back then, Snyder was probably a big hub. That was back before highways were such a big thing. It was 1973 last time you guys played them. You had just been born. I was still pretty young. These two youngins here, they were just whispers in their parents. They didn't know what was going on.
Probably their parents. We're probably a little bit older than their parents too. So
well, probably so. I've got a sophomore in high school, so I claim that's my.
You're a young guy.
No, but that's, as you can see, after a couple weeks, I've got the gray going. But the Westerners are coming off a win, 31-20 against Big Spring at home, after opening the season against Hereford, which I think Hereford kind of verified that they're a pretty good team. They beat fellow LISD team Estacado this week. I'm with Charlie Hogan also. I should introduce Charlie. Juan Rodriguez is over here. I almost forgot to introduce people, realize the costume change here between he and Reese Pena. Charlie, we talked way back before the season. You guys talked about how this team had specific goals. There's just a different feel about it. Did you sense that last week against Big Spring, that this team has kind of made some strides?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I mean, I got the feeling a lot more on the defensive side of the ball, just because that's what I'm more associated with as an inside linebacker. But I felt a lot more intensity and just wanting to actually be out there playing football. It was a different feel than has been the past few years.
Hold that up a little bit closer, make sure Mom and everybody can hear you. We're going to talk about both sides of the ball, because Juan, you guys in that first half in particular, you guys did a lot of things well. Now, Big Spring made its run at you towards the end, and it made it look a little bit closer than it was. And we talked after the game, you guys, but for 3 quarters, you guys had that thing pretty well where you wanted it to. What clicked so well for your guys from the beginning the other night?
It's one of the things that we've talked about it, as a staff and really as a program is not waiting to start, and we've been able to do that. And honestly, the last 2 games that we've played is we've been able to come out and play really well the first half, and not try to be a second half team, and wait for something or wait for us to fall totally behind when we start playing and we figure out that we can compete with others. And I think our kids have done a fantastic job the last 2 games of, just coming out ready to play, excited about playing. I think the energy that our staff brings to our kids has been phenomenal. We've got a bunch of young coaches, but they've got great relationships with our young men, and I think that's really helped us in the locker room, and it's helped us at halftime, and it's definitely helped us getting us ready for the game before, where I used to be able to do that. I get to sit back and enjoy someone else do it, and it's been really fun to watch our coaches get after it with the kids.
Coach still get a little bit excited once in a while?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I thought it might. I've known him for a few years. Him trying to pass himself off as a nice, calm, elderly statesman doesn't quite sit.
Doesn't sit well, does it?
No, I can't imagine that. It also didn't hurt you guys had Braden Dunkerson in your uniform the other night. That young man ran hard. I thought he set a tone for you guys right off the bat, and the offensive line plays a part in that. Zach Rainier plays a part, but I thought Braden Dunkerson really was a guy who you guys looked like part of the game plan was we're going to hitch our wagon here, and he got you guys going.
Absolutely, and I think for him, again, we talked about the type of young man that he is and the kind of preseason that he had. I mean, his workout partners here right next to you, they worked a lot together during the summer and spent a lot of time together getting each other ready for the season and pushing one another. So I think it's definitely paid dividends for both athletes. Charlie also at the linebacker spot and Braden at the running back spot. And, they're linebackers at heart too, because that's what Braden played for us last year as well. When we haven't had to go that route, we've had younger guys that have come up and played really well, and Charlie has been the leader of our defense along with Joseph Rosenda and Bryson Garza. And the linebacking core has done a fantastic job, and we've been able to do some things about stopping the run, and that's one of the things that those guys have goals for and have done a really good job of ensuring that we're being able to do that.
Follow up on that, Charlie, because Big Spring, I thought, did some good things offensively. They leaned on their quarterback a lot, and he was an elusive little dude. Just give me a real quick synopsis of what you think you guys did well.
Honestly, in the first half, they had no sort of offense. We stopped the run completely. We had several tackles in the backfield, and the only time that they scored on the second half was just having us beat on the deep balls, which isn't completely on the secondary just because lack of movement up front on the D-line as well. But I thought that as a defense as a whole, we did great.
And as he mentioned, I think Big Spring finished with right under 350 yards, but I think a big chunk of those came on their last 2 or 3 drives. So defense played well, offense played well. Westerners got the win. We're going to come back and talk more about their game with Snyder on the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 FM.
Bringing you the latest news from Lubbock High Athletics. This is the Westerner Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
We are back for one more segment on the Westerner Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score. I am with Juan Rodriguez, Lubbock High football coach, and Charlie Hogan, middle linebacker or outside linebacker?
Inside linebacker.
Okay. I know terminology is always different. What's the rover back what do you call yours?
I don't even know what the word rover means anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Secondary guy.
How many people different names there are?
Yeah, there's so many different names for rover back now, and I've got some old books from the 50s and 60s where they used to call it halfbacks, and my dad played corner when it was 1959. So, mostly we use a lot of the terminology of safeties and corners now.
Okay, thank you, because that helps an old dude like me.
Well, you and I are both old, so.
Well, let's talk about what you guys have coming up. You go on the road to Snyder. You've already been on the road to a pretty hostile environment, a hostile herd, and the snot-blowing bull, or not bull, whiteface.
Whiteface,
I don't want to get in trouble with David Thetford like you did.
Yeah, no.
So you've already gotten a taste for that. You guys had the home game, but having that first game out of the way on the road, how much does that help these guys get ready for another one school town that you're going down to face where everybody's going to turn the lights off and show up at the stadium Friday night?
Well, I think it's definitely exciting for us and our kids we don't have to travel that far. We don't have to travel all the way to El Paso to, get a great opponent. And Snyder's definitely that. They've got a great coach and a great coaching staff. I've had the opportunity to speak to Coach Gonzalez the last couple of days and gotten to know him a little bit. And I know that he's a hardworking man. And I think him and I both talked together on a Sunday evening. It was 8:30 at night, and I'm asking what he was doing. He was, well, I'm watching you. I said, what are you doing? I'm watching you. Just trying to get ready for each other. So we're both definitely excited to bring our kids, and it's going to be a competitive, tough game for both programs. And I think it's one where, and thinking about it more and more, I think both of us have a lot to prove, and we still have some things that we want to get done both as a program. So I think it's going to be a hard-hitting game, and I think it's going to be something that I think fans are going to have a good time seeing.
Both teams are 1-1. Snyder lost to Pecos to start the season. wasn't a very close game, and then played a team that you'll see next week, Lakeview. San Angelo Lakeview beat them 40-34. So they obviously made those Coach Cliche improvements from week 1 to week 2. When you looked at them on Sunday night on video, what about them caught your attention?
What about them?
When you've looked at it, Charlie?
Snyder's fast. I mean, their quarterback and running back are both elusive guys. They like to pull their guards a lot, GH, stuff like that. But yeah, they run the heck out of the ball, but the quarterback can sling it well too. It's gonna be a fun game.
It's been a while since I played football, and I played defensive end and linebacker. I always enjoyed when guards were coming at me. I figure if football, you're supposed to have a little bit of contact, some collisions. Do you kind of enjoy it when you see that guard coming at you?
It's part of the game. I love it. I love physicality. You got to be a linebacker.
You guys probably aren't supposed to do an Oklahoma drill anymore, right, Coach?
We really don't do those drills anymore, no.
That's probably why I've missing some brain cells. There's enough Oklahoma
You're not
drills.
the only one.
What do you guys have to do well against them? You mentioned the fast start, which was impressive the other night. How do you replicate that against Snyder?
Well, I think, we've definitely got great plans going on both sides of the ball, and I think we continue to do what we do. We've been very, just patient, and at the same time, taking what the defense gives us and being able to stop with some of the big plays from offense. I think Charlie said it best. They've got great running back that does a great job. He's fast. A quarterback that, that can get out of the pocket, not necessarily run, downhill, but sometimes, but he'll make you miss, and he's going to find his receivers, when they're open. So he does a great job of that. The things that worries us is the perimeter running. They do a great job of running on the perimeter, but that has a lot to do with the type of receivers that they have and their physicality at their receiver spot. It's definitely been impressive. I saw them last week, and they did a fantastic job, of blocking out there in the perimeter, so that it breaks that running back open a little bit more. And defensively, I think they got some guys going both ways, which I think that's going to help us because we don't have too many right now. And so we're definitely thinking of just, establishing the run like we have the last 2 games and just continue to do what we've been doing and being successful at.
And I'll throw this name out there. Lubbock High's got a lot of history and tradition. You know who the most famous player in Snyder history is? Sammy Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think he may be from Roscoe, but he's from that area. That's kind of where he grew up. So that's that even dates old guys like us. So Lubbock High on the road, 7 p.m. Friday at Snyder. This is Randy Rosetta with 100.7 FM. That's been the Westerner Fan Zone. We'll be back Wednesday with Friendship, Lubbock, Cooper, and Liberty on the High School Fan Zone.